All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be getting into the top showdown picks here for this Saints versus Chargers game, as well as touching on some props I like on both Underdog and PrizePicks. Let's go and get into it. Starting out with the Saints, we do know that Keandre Miller is banged up, so much so that they recently signed TERRELL Williams. The biggest question mark is going to be whether or not Keandre Miller plays. If he plays, that does make the running back situation a little bit more cloudy, and honestly, the whole slate as a whole a little bit more cloudy. But as it sits right now, it does look like Ellis Merriweather is going to be probably one of the better plays on the slate, just in terms of snap count predictability and kind of usage as well. Now, I do want to call out that, yes, we look at the running back room here. We see Alvin Kamara out. He could play just because he's suspended. We got Jamal Williams there. They have TERRELL Williams there. Benjamin's currently out, and then we don't have to worry about the next two. I do want to call out that Merritt here is actually a running back. Okay, so he is someone that we need to monitor as well, in terms of if he's in or out. If those two players are out, Merritt and also Miller, then we are looking at Merriweather as one of the better kind of flex options, maybe even captain's picks. Obviously, we need to get a touchdown out of him for him to be a valuable asset for us in that regard. And then one of the plays that really came through for us last week was A.T. Perry. Pretty awesome game that he had. Got a bunch of targets, got a lot of snaps as well. Him and Bryan Edwards actually both had the most snaps amongst receivers last week, and they're both very productive. Those are two players that we probably should be going back to the well with. The biggest issue that I have with this slate is that we have too many good enough options to have in our lineups, to the point where I am not chasing kicker production, and I'm not chasing defensive production as well. As you guys know probably by now, preseason showdown slates, the kicker points and the defensive points that we get can be pretty crucial. This is a game, though, I think that probably won't matter in. Looking at the Saints, we do have no confirmation on whether or not the starters are playing, but I think we can kind of get an indication of what's going to happen with playing time by just looking at some of the props that are out there. So looking at it, we do see that Derek Carr does have a projection there, okay, and also Jameis Winston, sorry. So the biggest question mark that we have is obviously what is the playing time allocation. It does seem like the starters are going to play somewhat. Then we do see A.T. Perry is probably going to be one of the favorite plays on the slate. We can see that in terms of receiving yards, and then Bryan Edwards. So literally the three players that I want to be on, Merriweather, A.T. Perry, and Bryan Edwards, are all projecting as players that we probably want to be on just based off of the sports books, Underdog, and then also PrizePicks as well. Very interesting that we are getting a 6-yard difference here though for Winston. That might be something we need to look into. We might be bending the over there on PrizePicks. And then for the most part, the receiving yards are kind of the same as well. Okay, so I do think we get a good indication of which players we want to be on for the Saints. Let's go ahead and switch up and get into the Chargers. So for me with the Chargers, I don't really expect their starters to play. That is something we will wait and see on. And I do think we're going to see similar production, similar snap counts as to what we saw last week. Keelan Doss, BYNUM are going to be two players that we want to be on, and we could easily stack them with Easton Stick. Easton Stick is someone that has proven time and time again that he's a good preseason NFL DFS quarterback for us. So I do think he's someone that we want to be looking at. And for what it's worth, Elijah Dotson, he was someone that really popped last week. He had 2 touchdowns. He played 7 snaps. Okay. He looked good. Don't get me wrong. And he probably did earn himself some more playing time. It's just, we can't chase that production on 7 snaps. If you're playing him, you're really hoping that he gets triple those amount of snaps, which might just be 35% of the snaps, which is what Josh Kelly got, which is what Isaiah Spiller got last week. And so once again, just using the information that we have at hand based off of Underdog and PrizePicks, we can see Easton Stick probably going to be the top passers, what both are kind of predicting here. And for what it's worth, guys, Max Duggan did not look good, so I don't know if I'm touching him at all. But then we have Keelan Doss popping up there. You see Davis popping up. He is someone that did get the third most snaps. He's someone that I don't mind as a play. Certainly could be rostering him. He's been someone that's been popping in camp. I don't mind that. And then we got Isaiah Spiller and Joshua Kelly. This suggests that Dotson's probably not going to get that much work. I'm a little bit surprised that neither of these two are actually giving us Dotson props, just because I think people would have chased it. That would have been a good opportunity for them to have a prop in there that people would have chased in some regard, whether it be the over or the under. I just think they could have got a high volume of bets on it. So looking at the Chargers, I do think it's a little bit more easy to predict which players we want to be on. We're going to be looking at Keelan Doss. It's whether or not we want to be putting him into the captain spot or not. And I really think I'm just going to be going one of the 4 receivers that I mentioned: Doss, BYNUM, Edwards, or A.T. Perry. And I'll probably just be mixing and matching it a decent amount. But if I'm going Keelan Doss and BYNUM, then I also do think I want to be going Easton Stick at the quarterback position. You know, if you're going with those two receivers, I think we need to be including a quarterback with that. For the Saints, I don't think that's necessarily something that we need to do, but the lineup process is going to come together pretty good this week, or for this slate. So we got A.T. Perry in there and then Bryan Edwards. Now, yes, other players can pop. We know that. We're just trying to chase the most likely outcomes. We're trying to chase the playing time. We're trying to chase the talent. That is something I've done each and every preseason. That's why it's been something that's been paying off each and every preseason. And just real quickly, touching on yesterday a little bit, such a bad beat that Nixon got injured, and he got injured like right away in the game. And also the Packers game, Patriots game, rightfully so, got suspended with 10 minutes left. That was such a bad beat because the ownership was mind-numbing on yesterday's slate. This is why preseason NFL DFS is so huge, because for some reason there are random ownerships. Like Rashawn Johnson was 50% owned on yesterday's slate. I was like, what is going on? Why are we doing this? Or 45, whatever, round it up. That was insane because we had easy plays. Emmanuel Wilson for the Green Bay Packers, Patrick Taylor for the Green Bay Packers, both really good running back plays. JJ Taylor in that game as well. Both very good plays. And it kind of sucks that people didn't get punished enough for probably their lazy play. Like literally it was just in the early stage. That's why I think his ownership was so high. Then another thing I want to call out just real quickly is that the two free squares on yesterday's slate were not that high owned. Like especially Julius Chestnut. Like I don't get how he was not extreme chalk along with Malik Willis. Like I get that they're teammates, but it was pretty obvious that those two were going to get a lot of playing time. So ownership is like really spread out on preseason NFL DFS, and it's just kind of random sometimes. So hopefully yesterday, one, you didn't have the worst bad beat probably of the season with the Green Bay Packer New England game like I did. It was frustrating. And then also Nixon getting injured. And still a profitable day on the day, but it wasn't massive like it seemed like it was going to be. But that just shows you the big edge that we have on preseason slate. So real quickly, let's get into a props based slip. So looking at it, guys, I don't mind the idea of one, probably betting the over on Jameis Winston on PrizePicks where the number is significantly lower. He's probably going to play at least a quarter and a half. And if he does that, he's going to be an appealing play. But I do think, you know, these are a lot of yards. I don't like that. I probably want to wait for fantasy points. Okay, a good example of that was Trey Palmer yesterday. Trey Palmer had one catch. He got the over yards. He didn't get his over receptions, but he did get his over fantasy points. I want to chase the fantasy points because all in all, with preseason, we know which players are going to be the correct plays. We're just kind of eliminating a little bit of the risk by going with fantasy point. Now, Ellis Merriweather, this really much depends on Merritt and also Miller sitting. If they both sit, he is due to get a lot of work in the second half, and it's just whether or not he can produce. I don't mind him. And then looking at it, I probably will just roll with like something like this. I don't mind that. Like, I'm perfectly fine with it. Just to remind you guys of the promo code that's going on the 9to5 website right now. Get 50% off your first month of your 9to5 membership. This is going to be available for new members only. Use the promo code playoffs because the golf playoffs are currently finishing up. There's one round left this Sunday until the Tour Championships. So you got about a week left of this. Take advantage of it. This will give you access to the props and to the NFL DFS lineup optimizer right now, as well as all the tools that will be available throughout the NFL DFS season. That's going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the coverage. If you did, you know what to do. Get that like and subscribe. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.